Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our final seminar of the day. I'd like to welcome our next speaker, but before we do that, I'd like to remind everybody that we do have a chat function and on the Zoom as well as on Facebook. So if you have any questions, please feel free to jot them down there and we will address them at the very end of the presentation. I'd like to welcome to the virtual stage, Karen Waksman, President and Founder of Retail MBA. She has a really great talk today about getting your products on the shelves of major chain stores and retailers. Certainly a big question that has been asked throughout my time in fashion school all the way up until my time in the industry as well. And I think a lot of people will greatly benefit from this presentation. So Karen, thank you so much and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Karen. I'm the founder of a company called Retail MBA. And today we're going to be talking about how to sell your consumer products to retail chain stores for massive profits, no experience required. So if you have a great physical product or you have any sort of product that you think should be on the shelves of retailers like Walmart or Macy's or Home Depot or whatever retail chain you're desiring, you're interested, this training will walk you through the basics and how to get started today. So just to give you a little background about me, I've taught tens of thousands of business owners across the globe on how to sell consumer products to retail chains, probably closer to 50,000. I've been doing this a really, really long time. But essentially, I help people understand how you get your products into stores, and we've had tremendous success for our clients. Basically, I started this business as a manufacturer's rep back in early 2000s. I was in New York. I started actually out in the fashion industry, and then we evolved into all sorts of different products. But that's how it started close to 20 years ago. So I've personally sold millions of products to retailers myself. And since then, I've been a speaker about selling to chain stores and anywhere from the Consumer Electronics Show, International Houseware Show, Stanford University, Alibaba, Global Sources, all the Amazon seller conferences, digital marketer, US Patent Office, you name it. I've done a lot of stuff over the years. And so I've figured out kind of the questions you're going to ask me, but super inspired to share this today. Basically, I actually do events when we're allowed to do events and have partnered with retail chains and help people get their products in stores over the years, partnered with CVS, Walmart Group on Whole Foods. I've worked with these chain stores with the buyers. And so I've learned a lot through working with them and understanding and tweaking and adjusting the content that you're going to be hearing today. So I'm super excited. Basically, my time-tested sales methodologies are proven, they're simple, they're effective, and they work for anyone at any stage of their business. So even if you have a textile product, or some version of a product because of cloth, whatever it is that you're doing, this information will support you. And I'm ultimately just here to help you scale faster. That's what I do. Who I've helped over the years, just so you know, I've worked with every product category. And we did that on purpose because sometimes you guys will start with one product and then you'll make another product. Or once you understand how chain stores operate, you're going to want to scale and do different things. So again, we decided to do an all-encompassing thing. And since we work with so many chain stores, we've honed them in to make sure that everybody is successful. So we work with consumer electronics brands, specialty food, home goods, fashion, and so forth. Every level of success. Some of you are brand new. You haven't even launched your product yet. Some of you are total advanced sellers. Don't worry about it. There's always some golden nuggets, no matter what. We've seen over the years that no one who's been an advanced seller hasn't received some value. Basically, we help people all over the globe. So if you're international, don't worry about it. We can support you there. And basically, we support people who want to just get the job done. People who need to know how to prepare to win to chain stores. Now, just so you know, the reason I started teaching this stuff is because when I got started in the business, I was dreaming of someone explaining to me how a buyer operates and what gets them to buy. It was like the thing that was so important to me, and nobody was talking about it. And so I sat with it for a long time, and I realized nobody was ever going to talk about it because it's kind of the industry where people kind of keep their trade secrets to themselves. People would say, why don't you just go sell for everybody and keep your secrets and so forth. And I just wanted to help people at every stage. And so that's what we're doing here today. So anyways, I hope you guys are excited. Every once in a while, I'm going to ask you to give me a woohoo, give me a something in the chat box so I know you're alive while we're working through this. But I want to give you some quick examples of people who've gotten into chain stores real quick. Then we'll get into the actual training. And by the way, we will be getting into Q&A at the end. So as you're going through, just dump your questions in because I will be powering through questions live, and I'm really excited about that. So real quick, I want to show you a few examples just to get you guys to believe that it's possible for you. This young guy had a dog pillow that he created, just different cool images of dog pillows. The reason this is cool is because this was his first order to Walmart. And some of you guys don't care about Walmart. Some of you guys want Neiman Marcus. Don't worry about it. The concepts are the same. Every retailer has certain interests like making money. So don't worry about it. We will cover all of that today. But I wanted to give you some cool ideas, right? So he got, for this tiny little Walmart test order and one full floor display, they bought 23,000 pillows and 150 pallets, right? That was his little side business that he started from that little business. And by the way, he was creating those pillows out of his warehouse, right? So they were putting them together. He knew the strategies on how to get in stores. And he was, today he's been in massive Walmarts and so forth. And his kids are actually on the display at Walmart. So if you can imagine, it's just kind of fun to see him all happy. And this is a guy who didn't have any experience whatsoever, just getting started, just had a cool product, knew what to say to buyers and so forth. So it's just kind of fun to think about. This is a lovely couple who literally that was their first chain store order, and she posted it online. I just thought it was a cute thing. Her and her husband created a hair repair product where basically you put a hair wrap on your hair when you're washing your hair and you're trying to dry it. Essentially, it's a real common product, but they made a newer version of an existing product. They took some cloth, they kind of made it organized. This is their product on CVS store shelves. And she was just so excited. Her and her husband just had this idea, and they just kind of adjusted some things and got into CVS. And that was her dream retailer, right? So everybody has their different type of retailer. And I just wanted to share this with you to get you kind of pumped up and excited. This is a little bit a different variation, but this guy created a night light that you hit and the color changes. Some of you guys just have ideas for other things. Just want to give you an idea. He got his product into Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, Home Depot, buybuy BABY, Walmart, Nordstrom, Wayfair, Crate and Barrel, all of within a 14-month or so period. This guy had no experience selling anything. This is about people willing to learn some strategies in scaling and growing, and that's all it is. So I just got to, again, this guy was an Amazon seller and just wanted to convert to retail and just took the strategies and went for it. And by the way, he's in way more stores now, but just wanted like Nordstrom Rack and all these different things. So, and Macy's, I think, as well. So anyways, he's growing and growing and growing. And I think as of recent, he's about to sell his company for massive sums of money. So we're about to get into the trading, but I want to get you guys pumped up. This is a sweet lady who created headphones that you can sleep in. If you look at the image, the lady's sleeping with headphones. It's actually headphones embedded in that cloth. She's a doctor, a new mom. Today she's in Best Buy, Office Depot, Walmart, all these different chain stores. And she started out just coming up with ideas and putting cloth on things and just going for it. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to get you guys pumped up of the different possibilities of what you can do with chain stores. This one, I like to show this one only because some of you guys have really high-end products and, or expensive, I should say, products. And you're competing with people who have much cheaper products. This is a woman who created a product called the Diva Cup. Basically, this is for concept only. I know this is an apparel show, but you guys understand what I'm trying to do here. The concept is it's a woman who lived in the UK. She wanted to sell her product to the US chain store. She had no contacts, no nothing. And she had a product that cost $45, where her closest competitor was Tampax packs and was a $5 product, right? So her product was massively more expensive. Just by learning some strategies, and she went for it and understood how retailers operate. She got into Safeway, Albertsons, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Kmart, Sprouts, and all these different chain stores. Even though her price was so much crazier, you can do this with all the department stores and so forth. The concepts are the same. It's just really fun. The last one, I just want to share this with you because some of you guys are excited about HSN and QVC. HSN QVC is an outlet and a possibility if you ever want to sell on TV and so forth. Well, this guy had vacuums he was selling. Vacuums are really, really hard, right? The whole world is selling vacuums. Why is this relevant to you? Because vacuums are like, just so much competition, right? He learned some strategies. He had tried to get into chain stores. Nobody was paying attention to him. He realized he needed to tweak his strategy, a few minor things. He got into the chain stores that he cared about, which is Home Depot and so forth. And he was so excited, right? Because he had tried for years and everybody was rejecting him. And then shortly after, he followed the same strategies, went to HSN and QVC, and he got 12 products on HSN and QVC. 12. Started with one, and they ramped up, and they just went to town. So I just wanted you guys to get excited about the possibility of different types of retailers, whatever you want to do. And because, it's just kind of fun to think about. So let's get started on today's training. Are you guys ready with me? Give me a woohoo, give me a something, give me a yeah in the chat box. I'm excited, something. I want to know you guys are live with me because I don't want to talk to myself. Okay. All right, cool. Selling to chain stores. So let's get into the actual training. All right, so why do you want to sell to chain stores? One chain store order, and I've seen it repeatedly, can increase your revenue by 10x or even 50x. It can be substantial to your business. Each chain store can bring in, I've seen $500,000, $1 million, 10 million, and so forth. I have clients who sell to just say TJ Maxx, one chain store, and that one account makes them millions of dollars each and every year. And wherever you are in your business, that could be really substantial for growth. So you can continue to do your online stuff or whatever it is you're doing, but opening up some of these accounts, they have to buy massive quantities to work with you. Now, I've worked with chain stores for years. The buyers have an insatiable need for new products. They are never not hungry. Do you know that my clients have been killing it over the last quarter, since COVID? You guys may think that COVID is causing chaos and it's not working for people. You don't even know how many success stories have come out of this experience with COVID. Why? Because the buyers are not traveling. They're not going anywhere. They're looking at new products. They can't go anywhere. And they still need to compete with all the online. So there's so many things going on for chain stores. And we've seen proof time and time again. They are hungry for new products. Please don't assume otherwise. And you can ask me more about that at the end. They really want to know about you. The professionals know this, that the buyers, no matter what it is, are purchasing agents looking for that next new product to convert. They're looking for sales, their revenue, and so forth. So you're just going to have to trust me on this. I do this every day. I've been teaching this for the last 11 years and doing this kind of work for the last 20 something years. So you're just going to have to trust me on the thought that I see this every single day, all day long, and they are always hungry for new products. There are so many misconceptions about chain stores that most people don't bother going after them. And I'm hoping today that you guys get a feel for that. It's not that hard. It's not that complicated. You're going after a very particular audience. You may just not be saying the right things to the buyer to get them to convert. And we'll talk about that today. But in general, try to put your misconceptions aside about chain stores. And if this is exciting to you or important to you, listen up. There's somebody out there who's willing to support you along the way if you're looking for that. You can sell your company from multiple seven-figure deals. Do you know how many clients of mine have opened up 2-3 accounts, chain stores, while they're running their main business, and all of a sudden their entire business shifts up and then they sell the company? And why does that happen? Because the investors want a well-rounded business. They do not want you to have a business where the people are, that all of your money is in one basket. If you're only selling on Amazon, what happens if Amazon changes their algorithm? Then all of a sudden you're not making any more money. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to diversify, and these investors really want you to do that. So they don't want you to just sell in one way. So selling to chain stores makes you look cool, makes you interesting, makes you look like you're making money. And then ultimately that can convert into larger sales and so forth. And so the investors really like that. And I've seen time and time again, and I can share endless stories. And you can take a look at what we're up to on our website. I'll tell you later how to connect with us. But the bottom line is that there's so many of my clients who are getting these big deals because of the fact that they were willing to do some work. So just assume that buyers really like you being in chain stores and they want to, and then investors really like that too. And I think a lot of you guys get that logically, right? And you can ask me questions at the end. You can reduce costs for your overall business because of volume discounts. You are buying in volume. One of the things that people don't understand is like a chain store, they're like, well, I get better margins on this site or whatever, so I don't really want to go after chain stores. But it's one chain store order, they can buy massive quantities of product. And if they do, guess who likes you so much? That's your manufacturer, because you're all of a sudden buying in so much more quantity. Then you can start hustling deals with your manufacturer and being like, okay, if I buy 10,000 units, by 20,000 units, like what's my price breaks? And guess what? That helps you in your overall business and your brand. And most people don't think about that it can overall reduce costs in some ways, like substantially, at least with your manufacturer and so forth. Obviously, there's more to say on that, but the essence is more stuff you buy, more manufacturers like you, better deals you get. And it really works for that. By the way, chain stores make you cool. You suddenly become so well known. People will start reaching out to you. The best reps, the best distributors, the best people will come out of the woodworks. And also with chain stores, one buyer says yes to you, the other ones will know about you very fast. They're all looking at each other's stores, seeing who's buying what. And ultimately what they want is the product that someone else says yes to, because it's less of a risk. If some buyer says, oh, yes, then trust me, all of the other retailers are constantly going to each other's stores. The Macy's buyers going to Walmart, the Home Depot's buyers is going to, whatever. They're all going to each other's stores to find that little nugget of product that'll convert and make money. And so that's really exciting. And also you just become cool. You know what I mean? It makes you differentiate from your competition. So why do some people fail with chain stores? Spray and pray. That's the thing that I see all the time. What does that mean? It basically means that you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're saying, but you're going to like test field out. And you're going to be like, maybe you're a good salesperson, so you'll figure it out. Well, it never actually works, honestly. And I say that for a fact because I've seen people stubbornly go out for 2-3 years and then come back, get some data, and then go out and, pillage with chain stores. And it's only because they didn't understand how the chain stores operate. The buyers have their own language, and it's not just a pitch for me. I'm just saying in general, like I've seen it time and time again, like this is an industry where they are literally going out there and looking for, new products and so forth. But if you're not talking the buyer's language, 98% of all the products that come to me, I know the buyer will say no to them. Not because it's not a great product, but it's because they're not saying anything she cares about. And that ultimately gets her not interested. So it's amazing how one slight tweak can be the difference between you making millions of dollars or not. I have one client that we're working with right now, and that guy tried for so long to go after stores, couldn't get anyone. We tweaked what we were saying to the buyers in a 4-week period. 4 chain stores said yes to him. I mean, that's insane. And sometimes it just takes that slight tweak. And that happens in business sometimes. You know what I mean? So that's something to consider. Just don't flail around. Just, you know what I mean? Do what you got to do and get someone to help you out a little bit, because it is a unique industry. And I can say this for a fact, because when I got started, I was dreaming of this type of information because the buyers were rejecting me left and right. So I remember what that felt like. It's not fun. And you have this product and you love it and you really want it to succeed and you don't get it. And so I totally get my audience. I understand what that feels like. It's very annoying. By the way, a lot of reps and distributors can actually delay sales. Sometimes they'll say, yes, 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 I want to buy, I'll work with you. Looks great, looks great. But then you keep reaching out. They're not getting anywhere. They're not doing anything, a year later, la, la, la. There are a lot of reasons behind that. I can go on endlessly why that happens. But most of the time, just so you know, with chain stores, you kind of have to get that one major chain store to say yes to you, and then it starts working. Then the best reps and distributors start coming at you. But usually a lot of reps and distributors don't want to talk to you until you start selling stuff, which is annoying for those of you who are just looking for someone to manage your business. So it's something to think about, that in our industry, if you're not getting anywhere because of a rep or distributor, I just want you to know that's really, really common and okay. It happens to people all the time, and there's reasons behind it. And again, I don't have that much time today, but we can go in detail. But the essence is a lot of reps and distributors can actually delay sales because you have a contract in place. You can't get out of it. There's so many reasons. So maybe learn some strategies and then know what you're doing, and then be a little bit more careful on who you choose to work with, because it backfires sometimes. Sometimes your product isn't good enough. It happens sometimes. But I've seen the worst products get into stores and some of the best products not get into stores. So you'll never know until you actually go out there and put the best foot forward. And if they reject you, it's good to find out why they're rejecting you, so that maybe one slight tweak of that product can be the difference between it changing and so forth. Most of the time, though, I've seen that you can kind of shift the product a little bit, and it can go for it. Because, again, we're in a consumer industry, in this consumer world, people are looking for new products. There's always a way to get a buyer to kind of be intrigued. But sometimes your product, there's some issues there, and that's why they fail. Sometimes packaging and pricing is way off. If we have time, we'll talk about packaging strategies and so forth. But the essence is that sometimes, you got to do some adjustments on your end. But everything I've seen over the years is fixable. I mean, pretty much anyone who has that issue, there's workarounds to it. And if there's a specific issue you're having, we can talk about that. Most don't adjust when buyers tell you no. The data with chain stores is gold. When you're reaching out to retailers, we teach strategies on making sure that you understand why the buyer is saying no to you, because maybe it's just, rather than walking away and feeling all sorry for yourself, find out, is it my pricing? If 3 or more buyers are saying your product is not good, I'm not going to buy it. And if you know that it's because of pricing, you stop, you can adjust it. And there's ways to adjust it and come back to them. And I've seen people clean house with chain stores once they figured that part out. There's ways to work and adjust all of these issues. The buyers can tell you gold. By the way, buyers change jobs typically so often that even if one buyer rejects you, it's not uncommon for another buyer to pop in. So one of the cool things about strategies is if you understand that one buyer can be there 6 months or a year, it's like the top sellers know this. They have a rep working with the buyer and all of a sudden she changes jobs and then all of a sudden you have to start over again with a different relationship. Well, on the newbie side, the people who are just starting out, that actually can be a benefit for you, because if one buyer said no, the next one can come in. And again, there's strategies to keep the buyers happy and so forth, but ultimately these buyers can give you gold. And ultimately, it's just important for you to understand that these buyers change jobs so often that some of the stuff that you test, you won't destroy your business if you make a huge error in judgment or something, because the next buyer will come in and there's a lot of opportunity there as well. I'm talking fast because I just don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to give you as much data as possible on this call. So hopefully you understand why I'm doing this. But anyways, products don't sell sometimes at chain stores. There's so many different solutions. I've seen it time and time again where you're going after a chain store, you got an order, maybe something messed up. But you'd be surprised at how many people don't realize what they can do to make things super easy for the buyer to make sure that the product converts. Again, it just really comes down to you just don't know what you don't know. And the number one reason people don't get a response back is usually from a chain store is usually because there's one slight tweak of one thing that you didn't say that could have been the difference between you making millions of dollars or not. I've seen it so many times. And the guys who, I showed you that vacuum cleaner. I mean, that's a really hard product to sell. And all the major chains were just rejecting him because it's a vacuum, because he was talking like all the other vacuum dealers, but ultimately, just some slight adjustments. And now he's the cool kid in town. That's how it works all the time. So anyways, are you guys with me? Do you guys get me? Are we on the same page here? If you are, there's a little chat box. Keep in touch. Let me know what's going on. If you have questions along the way, drop them in. I will talk to you at the end. All right. So at chain stores, there's massive opportunities. And I want to talk to you about some concepts here. So with chain stores, some people just think there's one way to sell to them. And I want you guys to think about the fact that there's so many ways to sell to a chain store and make a ton of money. One way you can sell to a chain store is you can go to that chain store. What's a retailer that you guys really want to get into? Just put it in the chat box. What's the retailer that really matters to you? Oops. Let's see. Okay, so somebody's saying, let me see, why am I not able to open this? Okay, let me see. Somebody's saying, what retail? Okay, so Target, there's REI. Okay, different retailers. Got it. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble closing this. Okay, so Urban Outfitters, I get you. Okay, so you guys are, now I can't close this thing, so come on, guys. Sorry. Oops. It's not letting me close. Okay, I will just have to deal with it this way. Okay, so one of the things that people say you want to go after Target, right? So one way you can sell to them is, like everybody thinks, you can go after the buyer at Target and actually, or submit your product online or whatever it is, and you get your product into Target stores through the buyer who buys your particular products. If you're selling clothing, there's a buyer who would buy clothing. You know what I mean? If you're selling whatever it is, you're looking for that particular buyer, right? Whatever it looks like, you are going after that buyer, and that one buyer can buy a lot of products for their physical stores. That's one way to do it, right? Well, one of the things people don't realize is there's so many buyers within one chain store that you could sell to. So yes, you can make millions of dollars selling to one chain store like Target. I'm just using your examples, but Nordstrom or whatever it is. And they can buy a ton of quantity from you and they can put it in their stores. That's amazing, right? But the thing that you guys need to understand is there could be multiple buyers within that chain store that could buy from you. And so the example would be like at Target, say you are where you have something that has a cloth that is also a sporting goods thing, but it's also could be in the clothing area, but also could be in somewhere, a gift maybe, whatever it is. You know, there's a buyer who buys typically gifts and certain types of products at a chain store, at most retailers. Like there's usually a gift buyer in a lot of these stores, not all of them, but there's usually a buyer who can buy gifts. They actually call themselves like a gift buyer, whatever. Or, you know, at some retailers, or you can sell to the sporting goods buyer, right? So say you went and you try to sell to the main buyer and the buyer rejects you, you know, maybe you pitch a different buyer within a chain store and trying to get that buyer to say yes to that different division. So if you went to the sporting goods buyer, you know, you talk about things that matter to her because it's in the sporting goods section, right? Maybe it's a gift, so you put it in a little box. You know what I mean? Can you change it up? These are different buyers with different budgets. I have seen that you can go after 8 to 10 different possible buyers conceivably within a chain store if you keep mixing it up and trying to find it. I've seen so many success stories where they kept trying to hammer this one buyer and the buyer was rejecting him, but can you turn it around for a different audience? Maybe it's great for kids. You know, you put a kid on the box and all of a sudden it could work, you know, like these are the types of things that people can do. So anyways, the opportunity is you can sell to massive chain stores. Another opportunity is you can sell to regional chain stores. And that basically means that you can go and sell to a buyer on a regional level. Like I'll just use Walmart as an example, but there's so many chain stores at Nordstrom's. So for years, Nordstrom's basically would sell or would have regions. And so there was a Northeast region buyer and there's a Southwest region buyer and so forth. So for years, you could literally sell to each individual buyer in different sections of the country. So they were responsible for their region. Miami people care about things differently than New York people. You know what I mean? Like they care about different things. So they kind of broke it out by regions. I mean, as of recent, Nordstrom changed it to different things, but you know, there's different types of retailers. Like Walmart has, you know, regional buyers, but they also have corporate buyers, right? So the regional buyers only care about their one area and they have different budgets and so forth. And so one way you can do it is it depends on the retailer, but maybe you're missing tons of opportunity because you're not understanding that maybe there are regional buyers who buy for one region and you could have made a ton of money since the corporate buyer said no to you. Maybe the regional buyer could say yes to you. Different budget, different interests, and so forth. And I'm going to give you an example of this in just a minute. But another example is a lot of chain stores buy on a local level. So a lot of like, let's say, this is not perfect for your example, but like Ace Hardwares, they're franchise owned and or individually owned and they're corporate owned. So you can go door to door to door and open up accounts at say a local Ace Hardware and literally get an order from an individual store and open up accounts that way. Walmart has a local buying program. A lot of chain stores have a local buying program where they can literally buy for one store. So 7-Eleven, a lot of chain stores do this as well. So if there's any retailer that you're really interested, a regional chain that, you know, maybe the co-ops, whatever it is, a lot of them are buying on a local level, and then they're also conceivably buying on a corporate level. So I'm going to use the example of the dog pillow guy I showed you before. He reached out and he wanted to get into Walmart. That was his retailer. He only cared about that retailer. So basically he went to corporate rejected him, but he knew what to do because I taught him strategies. He got into finally he decided I'm not quitting. He went to the local, you know, buying program. Back then you could actually just drive to a local Walmart and buy something. You know, like, you know, you can go to a local Walmart and, you know, sell to one individual store. So basically he went to the corporate buyer, they said no. So he went to the local buyer and the buyer said, okay. Then he got, he did well. So then they gave him a floor display. So then he continued that way. Then he went door to door, opening up different accounts at different Walmarts and so forth. Then he went to the regional buyer and who was responsible for a couple hundred stores. Now these are all people who have different budgets. Then he went longer around the, you know, road and went to the regional buyers, and then a regional buyer bought for a region. Then it went really phenomenally well. And then because it was going well, he went back to corporate and got corporate to buy for thousands and thousands of stores. My point in sharing this with you is a lot of times people are missing opportunities because if they're rejecting you in one way, maybe there's another way you didn't know about. And so that's what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to share with you opportunities and options. So in his case, he went to the local buyer, the regional buyer, the massive, the online corporate buyer, and the physical store buyer. Now, please understand that they all have different budgets and different interests. And so that's why it's cool to understand what's going on. And so hopefully you get a feel for what I mean by opportunities. So a lot of retailers, an example of this would be a lot of the US retailers actually have divisions overseas. So, you know, you can look on their, maybe they're in Canada, maybe in their different locations. Every time they have a different region, they usually have a buying division in that one region as well. And it's usually separate from the US retailers as well. So another way you can make money, and sometimes people do this, they will literally get rejected by all the buyers, and then they would try the Canada location, different buyers, and then they got a yes. And then they went back to the US buyers showing proof that it converted, and then they went back and forth. Does that make sense? So a lot of people miss the international market because they're different buyers, different budgets. Do you see how many opportunities there are with these chain stores? And sometimes people are just like, I'm not winning, so I'm not winning, you know, but I don't want you to think that way anymore. And online retailers, I mentioned this, he also got to sell his product on their website. Almost all retailers obviously have their online presence. Did you know that the online buyer is typically different than the physical store buyer at all chain stores? So the buyer has a different budget for online than physical stores most of the time. So the reason that matters to you is because if you're getting rejected by one buyer, go to the other buyer and see if she'd buy that product and for the online market. Now, if your product doesn't do well online because you have to touch it and feel it, might not be a good idea. But do you see how these are all different buyers within the same chain store that can conceivably make you a lot of money? A lot of these chain stores like Williams Sonoma, whatever, they, you know, Urban Outfitters, I think Urban Outfitters as well. They have catalogs. Maybe not Urban. Okay. Anyways, chain stores. A lot of chain stores have catalog divisions. Most of the time, those are different buyers. So my concept here is that you can conceivably make all, and that's a different buyer. You need different things. You need imagery. You know, there's certain things that they need that are separate from the buyers, right? So physical stores, they're touching, they're feeling, they're picking up your product. It's got packaging. It's very important. The online buyer, you know, it's more pictures and copy and words you're using that really matters to them. The catalog is very similar to online, but they're printing it out and they're sending it to people's homes. You get my point. So whatever feels, so what we try to do is give you an idea of where the money is, and then don't ignore opportunity just because you don't know what you don't know, and then choose what feels right for you. Is it exciting for you to start small and grow? Meaning sell to individual stores, even though you're getting the big name, you know, like you can only sell to one store? Or do you like the concept of a regional chain versus a corporate chain? Some of you guys just want to make $1 million tomorrow. You can do that. You know, you can go after the biggest chain stores in the world, but some of you get scared or you're really uncomfortable. If that doesn't feel bad to you, you know what I mean? Maybe you want to start smaller and grow. And that's part of the thing that's going on with a lot of people. They get in over their head, and they shouldn't do that. They should just learn strategies and go that way. So if you want self-sabotage, and a lot of people do it where they think the buyer just rejected them and they disappear versus getting down to what it did wrong, you can make some massive opportunities to happen for you in your life. So I hope that makes sense for everybody. Okay, so Zoom is stuck. So one second, guys. I just wanted to make sure that I can support you, but I don't know why it's not. Aha, there you go. Sorry, it couldn't stand it anymore. I was literally seeing your chat box in the middle of my screen. Okay, thank you for your patience. Okay, how to know if this opportunity is right for you? People always ask me, Karen, how do I know if I should go after chain stores? Could you see your products on chain store shelves? That's the first question. It's not brain surgery to get into chain stores. I literally have taught people at all age ranges, all money capacities, everything to get into stores. There's a lot of ways to do this. But the big thing is, do you get excited about this as a possibility? And you'll know who you are. Some people just really want it. I'm assuming since you're on the call, you know, it's a big deal for you. But a lot of times people are like too scared for it, and that's okay. But you just got to know who you are and what you want. And if you can see your product on chain store shelves, and if you're walking stores and you're like, that my product should be there, you should consider going after chain stores, because I've seen people with one product or SKU with no sales whatsoever kill it at chain stores. And I've seen the most successful companies grow and scale as well. Like it really comes down to what do you want? You know what I mean? So if this is exciting for you, I believe that you should go for it, even if there's certain components that you feel like you aren't ready for. I'm here to tell you that I've seen it all, and I wouldn't be teaching this stuff for so many years I've had so many client success stories if I wasn't telling the truth. So you just have to kind of trust me on that. Is it a mass appeal product? Here's the problem, guys. Sometimes products are so niche that nobody knows what to do with them. So if your product is somewhat mass appeal, because chain stores are, in an algorithm where they're selling products to a larger audience, like there are a lot of niche websites that can buy weird, odd things, but is the mass in general, would they be open to your product? It does matter. And you know who you are if you have something like really oddly unique that you don't know what to do with. It may be a challenge for chain stores, although, I just need more data. But generally speaking, it needs to be somewhat of a mass appeal item because, these are cookie cutter, bigger stores that, sell a lot of volume. Are you willing to align with the opportunity that makes you, good for your personality versus, not getting started? So sometimes what's happening again is that people are getting too emotionally freaked out about the possibility. So they don't follow their instincts, and then they cause chaos from themselves when they're going after stores because they're not aligned with what they're choosing. So what my recommendation is, don't go against the grain of who you are, and don't not get started just because you're scared, but just start smaller and grow. That's what I'm really trying to say. And the other question is, are you willing to mass produce your product? Some people really won't. Some of you guys are into the boutique scene and you are like, mass makes me want to vomit. That's totally cool. I get you. And sometimes people will definitely not realize how much money and opportunity there is, and maybe they're willing to adjust and work with a manufacturer to mass produce this product. You know what I mean? What I'm really trying to say is these buyers need to be able to buy your quantity on a massive scale. And if you're like the type that really just likes their hot thing and mass doesn't seem interesting to you, might not be an opportunity that you want to go after. But if you're willing to think about the possibility that they can buy 10,000, 50,000, are you willing to maybe create a product that's not your main product that could work for the mass audience so you can make some money to pay for that other lifestyle? You know what I mean? And that's a possibility, high ticket, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Are you willing to learn how they operate, what makes them buy? Some people literally just want a quick hit, get rich quick scheme. I can go as fast as possible and get people interested and buyers moving forward, but you got to care enough to do it. You know what I mean? You'd be surprised how many people aren't willing to do a little bit to help themselves along. So that's something to think about. It's not massive effort. I have clients who reach out to retailers once a week, and they get into the massive retail market. But you got to do something, you know what I mean? And or hire somebody or do something. And I think probably if you're on this call, you're one of those people, but you'd be surprised at how many people want everything for free. And, you just got to put a little bit of time. Anyways, and the last thing is, are you willing to, this Zoom is killing me today. Okay, come on, move so I can see the last slide. I can't see the last slide, guys. We'll try it again. Are you willing to spend time on strategy? That's it. Okay. So basically, sometimes people want to get into stores so bad, so fast, that what's actually happening is that they're making very poor decisions. Like, did you know that if you reach out to somebody and they're like, I got a relationship with this chain store, I can get you into stores tomorrow. Do you know that a lot of times, not all the times, but a lot of times what that actually means is they're usually the vendor of record. Not all the time, but a lot of times. What that means is that person is saying they got a deal with this chain store and they can get you into stores tomorrow. What that means is they've actually built the vendor connection and you are piggybacking off of that effort, but your name is actually not on the vendor of record a lot of the times, which basically means that you have no connection to that retailer, that buyer, that person is in charge of that, and your company is not there. And if something happens with that company, you guys don't get along, their route, something happens, you can get kicked out of your own deals. And I see a lot of people like rushing for cash, and then they're like, they don't have any connection or relationships with these buyers and so forth. So what we try to teach is, are you willing to maybe make some relationships with buyers and then offset some of the work so that you can keep the opportunities and the money and your name is literally connected to that chain store? There's a lot of reasons why strategy can be such a big deal. I mean, even the little things of, going after the international market, maybe you didn't think about that. You know what I mean? There's one slight tweak can make all the difference for you. So we just try to help you out as best as we can. Again, we're going to get into Q&A. Are you guys still with me? I have some more to talk about, and then we're going to answer questions. But are you there? Give me a yes. Give me something in the chat box. Give me a woo. Okay.
You got plenty of time, by the way. So
Oh, do I? Okay, good.
Well, you're the last of the day, so you can go as long as you need to.
Oh, good. I'll slow down then, and then we'll just get into questions. I'm sorry. I thought you guys said I had like no time. All right. So basically, the bottom line is how to know if this opportunity is right for you. It really, I thought I had 45 minutes and I was already past the time, guys. So that's why I was talking so fast, just so you know. Okay. But the bottom line is that if you're excited about the possibility, if you're willing to put some time and effort, you'd be surprised at like the craziest products have gotten in store. You know that when you're going to stores and you're seeing the silly stuff on store shelves. Why are they doing it? Why are they able to do it? You know what I mean? It's not always about, it's not about your product all the time. It's just but how they spoke to the buyer and the timing and the perfection of it all. There's so many silly reasons why a buyer buys, and we can talk about that. So what's required of you in regards to going after chain stores? You need a product that's ready for stores. So what that means is there's certain criteria that you're going to need to set up, right? You're going to need some packaging, you're going to need some pricing. There's certain things that you got to set up correctly, right? So it needs to be what a buyer's looking for is something to buy on the spot. And again, we can talk about some Q&A stuff, but buyer's looking for a product on the spot to buy. She doesn't want you to come to her with an idea, a concept. She wants money in hand for her business, and she can tell you whether or not she can buy it now or later or whatever. But ultimately, she needs a retail ready product, and she needs to be able to, buy that on the spot. So don't waste your time with half finished products, or it's a waste of everybody's time. Just learn from somebody else and then go to her, right? You need a way to manufacture the product. So they buy large quantities, right? So you can't be like, I make my handmade knits, in my garage and I can do 20 at a time. That's not going to work for chain stores. You know what I'm saying? They want to buy quantities. So yes, you're going to need a way to mass produce this product in exchange for massive opportunity. And with manufacturers, yes, you can get some samples and just make sure that they're working well with you. You don't have to buy tons of units or whatever. With some manufacturers, I'm sure Jason and them do epic work on that stuff. So bottom line is that, you guys just need a way to manufacture your product. You need a little patience. It's a little bit slow at first to get that first chain store order. You know how many times, like we have this private group for our audience, for people who buy our programs. And you know how many times people have posted like, this is hard, this is hard, it's hard. Oh, I got into a chain store. Oh, wow, you're right about the domino effect. Because once one chain store gets in there, it's like all the other ones are watching you. They only want to make money. If a buyer is saying yes to, the other retailers are really paying attention. And I teach strategies to go for the kill right when you get a yes, because you want all the buyers to know, even if they rejected you in the past, you want to go right back to all the retailers who said no to you and let them know I'm in this chain store. Because retail is the one weird industry where they actually like knowing that you're selling to their competition. Unless it's a really unique product and yes, they want exclusivity, most of the time they love when you're already making money. And this goes for distributors and everybody else. They seem to like you after you make money. It's very annoying. Otherwise, they don't call you back. It helps you if you have unit. By the way, this stuff is gold, guys. I love this organization. I'm really trying to give you as much value. I'm hoping you're taking notes. I'm really excited for you because I wish somebody would explain this to me when I got started. Not tooting my own horn, but I know the value of just getting someone to give me some data that helps. So anyways, units for a quick test. Chain stores are fine with you shipping and them receiving the product within a specific time frame, blah, blah, blah. They're okay with that. You can do that. But if you have units in stock, it does help them speed along, because instead of it taking 6 weeks or 8 weeks to get the product, if you have some in stock, they like that, right? Because it could be shipped in 2 weeks if it's in the United States, something faster. You may not sell as many units, but buyers like to hear about those things. So you can get paid fast, you can move. I'm not saying to go out and get a bunch of stuff, in your warehouse that you just paid for with no guarantees. I'm not saying that. I'm saying don't be freaked out if you have units in stock. It's actually can be a useful thing to get started with the buyer a little bit faster, right? Because once you get the purchase order and you're filling out the forms, it can take a while. And then, you ship the product and this just cuts down the time, and that can be useful for you. But again, don't do it if you don't already have it. I'm talking to the people who kind of get even 500 units, 1,000 units can be a really quick test for a chain store to see if your product sells and so forth. You're going to need startup capital to start the business entity. You can't go like ghetto, like, I don't have a company, I don't have a brand, I don't have anything, so you do need to like get an LLC, whatever it is, you know what I mean? You just need to look professional. Don't be sending Gmails to buyers. She likes a professional thing. These are corporate people, so you're going to need like insurance and some basic stuff. And so again, there's a laundry list of things that you got to do before you reach out to buyers, and it bugs the buyers when you don't have that stuff done. So yeah, just be aware that it doesn't cost that much to go after chain stores. Initially, there's people out there who can pay for these orders. We can talk about that in the Q&A a little bit. But essentially, you need some basic capital to be able to make some product, to be able to sell the initial, and also to have some insurance and some basic stuff. It doesn't have to cost too much. I always show the cheap versions of all this for people who, whatever, but the actual paying of the goods, there are third-party companies who can afford to do deals with you. We can talk about that at the end, but the essence is don't go, ghetto, really. You need to start a company, you need the basic things. And you need to be willing to interact with buyers verbally if you want to do it kind of right. And when I say verbally, I mean like interact in a little bit of way, in some sort of communication. Humans, yes, you're going to have to deal with humans a little bit. Even those of you who hate humans and don't want to talk to anybody, like with chain stores, if you want to really kick butt, there are strategies where I teach people with no sales experience to communicate with a buyer in a way that they can hear you, that doesn't take much time, 10, 20 minutes max, whatever, something very small. And, it's not something where like most people understand that. So let me explain. So most people go to somebody's website and they say, I want to go after a chain store, and they go to that retailer's website, say it's Nordstrom, whatever. And say like certain retailers say, submit your product into the cloud, right? So they say, submit your product and we'll get back to you about your product. You know how all retailers do that? Well, now RangeMe is another kind of app that is being used as that same thing. It's like an online submission portal for retail chains and so forth. The problem with RangeMe and any sort of online portal is what you're doing is you're taking your product, you're submitting into the air, and you're hoping that the perfect buyer is looking at your product. You can't do anything beyond fill out a form that they want you to know. And like you have to say what the price is, say all these things, and what the problem with that is, say your product is a little too expensive, or there's a little tweak that you don't want her to know about, or, the buyer's third assistant secretary is reviewing these. You don't know if the appropriate buyer is looking at it. There's so many variables. So most of the time, I would say 90-something% of the time, a lot of people don't get anywhere when they're submitting their products. Nowhere. You know what I mean? And it's not a bad idea. You're not going to lose out, an opportunity because they usually won't call you back anyways. And they do say they'll reach out right away. But after all these years, I never hear people getting success, very minimally, I should say, just submitting your product that way. There's other ways that it's happened. Maybe the buyer randomly called you because they saw your product at a chain store or other things. But really what we teach is, are you willing to speak to a human for a couple minutes in a very particular way to get her to look at your product and just make a choice? And which buyer and how you reach out to them and what you say can be the difference between you making millions of dollars or not, or you can do what all your competition is doing, which is submitting your product in the online and wondering why no one's picking up your product. You know what I mean? Then you losing years of your life on this. So I try to teach people actual strategies that only the professionals use. Like a professional would never go submit a product online into the cloud hoping for a return on investment. They don't do it. And even if you're not a salesperson, don't worry about it. We started teaching this stuff to inventors, people who absolutely are like the engineer types who just did not want to do anything but be behind the scenes. I respect that. And we set it up so you'd barely have to speak, but there are some words you have to use. So I make jokes, but a lot of you guys who are product creators or thinkers, whatever it is you're doing, you're not always loving that. But some of you with the big mouths and all that, go for it. You know what I mean? There's solutions for all of it is what I'm saying. Okay, I need to go a little faster because there's actually a couple more slides. So typical fees, what do they take? It varies based on product category and retailer. Really, it does. Like one chain store can need this and another one can need something totally different. There's no way I'm going to be able to support you this way over the phone. It can be at least 100% markup, meaning like, product costs, wholesale is $10. They put it out to stores for $20. It could be a $5 product that's wholesale that could be $20 retail. It depends on your product. Some products are small, easy to ship, whatever. Like if you're selling jewelry, right? We used to sell it for like $2 and then it was $10 in stores, or $5. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Scarves were totally different. Whatever it was, like different products are different. So I can't give you a full answer, but at bare minimum, you know what I mean? Like it's a $10 wholesale, could be a $20 retail price. And then there's volume discounts. There's lots of things you can do. So that's just a general overview of retail. Again, don't quote me on this. And this is just, I don't know what your product is, but just wanted to give you something because people always ask me that. You might need to hire folks along the way. That really means like eventually, like if a retailer says yes to you, you're going to need some people along the way. So that could be a fee that you're going to be incurring, but I'm assuming that you're going to be excited because you're making money and everything's good. Check out their website and see what prices and examples of competition feels like for similar products. So the reason I say that is because if you go to a website and you are going to Nordstrom and you're looking at your competitors' products, you're going to see that if you're selling a scarf, what their prices are for that scarf, retail price, right? What you want to do is you want to just make sure that your pricing is not totally outlandish for that chain store. Like, they're telling you a lot of what they're looking for. And so you also need to, once you see what you can do versus retail price, then at least you can support yourself in going after that particular retailer. But if you're so far off, you're going to have to come up with other strategies. And there's people like me in the world who, can support you, coach you along the way and stuff like that to figure out solutions and stuff. And you can save money on commissions with manufacturers if you do this in-house. So we teach strategies on how to not pay your rep 5 to 10% and your distributor 30% or whatever. We teach strategies on how you're willing to do a little bit of work, then hire some person in-house to just answer the phones and follow up and but really, these could be considered fees and so forth that you could be added. Obviously, there's more. We talked about insurance and the basic stuff. Again, Q&A, we can talk about the details, but I just want to give you some ideas of what that sort of looks like. So why you want to do this? A very common argument about going after stores is, retailers are too expensive. I'm used to these, great margins, whatever website I'm selling on. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good idea. Here's what you need to know. The intrinsic value of going after chain stores is real. First of all, someone is buying your products in a purchase order, meaning they're actually buying X number of units. And yes, Amazon has some version of that. They can buy your products larger scale, but with a chain store, it tends to be really epic, can be great. And it's not like Amazon where most of the time you're selling on their site and they are literally just buying, 1 unit at a time or whatever. And you have to do advertising, like all sorts of bigger things to try and get the average Joe to purchase your product, right? You're selling to one person who's ultimately giving a purchase order to buy massive quantities. So massive quantity equals making money on the volume. They're buying more quantities, the reorders and so forth. Again, I have clients who just do 7 figures off one retailer every year consistently, reorders once it gets started, and so forth. The QVC guy I talked to you guys about, that guy was literally from HSN QVC. He wakes up and he gets orders now. They just print reorders. You know what I mean? Like it can really happen for you. That one deal that converts can be a huge deal for him. I mean, he shared a story at one of our live events where they literally, the FedEx guy showed up to pick up all the quantities from HSN QVC. And she looked at the FedEx person looked at what she had to pick up and she quit on the spot. She literally, this is recorded, I'm not lying. Like, it can be amazing. And it was a reorder that he didn't even know about because he had other people, kind of managing at that point. And he walks in and the whole thing happened. So it can be really fun. Not saying this happens to everyone. Yes, some people have duds. But again, there's always a tweak to everything. It's another revenue stream. It balances out your business when you go after chain stores. So basically, if you're selling in one channel, add some accounts. It can balance out your business and so forth. Again, it's $1 million plus opportunity. Can be a domino effect. One chain store sees your product, other ones are interested. Reps and distributors and retailers. Basically, once you start succeeding, you'd be surprised at how amazing the opportunities start coming in. I've seen clients all of a sudden blow up with chain stores once they got a few deals in. Your pricing can decrease with your manufacturer. You become the cool company. All of a sudden, everyone's noticing you, right? Because it's like getting your product in front of millions of people. And by the way, the person who buys on Amazon is not the person who buys at Macy's. You guys all have this misconception that the person who buys at this one chain store is buying it, on this one online web. It's not true. They're all there's very unique people in the world doing various things. Not your customers are not always you. So it could be millions of people you never got access to before, simply because of some misconception. All right, getting started today, and I'm going to open up to Q&A. One thing you can do is you can look around on websites for similar products and get a feel for what's going on in the market today to figure out the pricing, what they're doing, and so forth. You can check out Google and see where your competitors are and what they're doing and which retailers they're going after to get a feel for what's working already. And then you prepare your packaging and your pricing accordingly, meaning you don't want to sell to a chain store if your MSRP, manufacturer suggested retail price, is so different than what they're already selling. You either need to come up with an amazing story on rare occasion, like the Diva Cup, where that person had a $45 product for a $5 thing. It happened because it was so unique and it was a maybe, and they just took it and then it converted. And so now all the retailers wanted it in a frenzy because it was working. You know what I mean? So that kind of happens that way. One chain store order can, again, mean millions of dollars to your business and your bottom line. So don't go spraying and praying and hoping that this works. Why do that to yourself? Do it once, do it right, understand what's going on in the world. Don't waste years, for a couple of bucks. You know what I mean? Just do it right the first time. And again, you guys are going to be panicked and freaked out about chain stores. I've been doing it a long time. I get it. But I'm happy to kind of calm you down in the Q&A. Start small and grow if this is your personality. Don't go from so again, some clients are from 0 to 100. They just want to get into the biggest stores. They want to start tomorrow. They don't care. They know their product needs to get to the biggest stores. Do that. And if you're one of those where I need to open up small boutique accounts and want to build that business, do that. Now, if you're wanting to do the boutique route, one thing I'll tell you is, there's one person who's buying for thousands of stores at a chain store, right? One corporate buyer, although I showed you different opportunities earlier on. But with a boutique, you got to go door to door to door to door to door, opening up each individual one where they're buying a dozen or whatever at a time. And so is that, do you have time for that? Maybe you don't have time for that. So maybe, you can think about some workarounds where you can go in the local divisions or regionals. So it's not so big for you. These are business decisions and emotional decisions you have to figure out, but honor who you are so you're not hysterical the whole time. Yes, you can sell on Amazon while going after stores. You just don't want your pricing to be better on Amazon than in stores, right? Buyers are competing with Amazon. Don't do that to them. Give them a better deal. If you're willing to do all the work, a little work, all the top reps and distributors will find you after you open up that 1 or 2 accounts. That's a golden nugget. You have no idea. When I started this business, it was because people were trying to go after stores with a rep or distributor. They weren't getting anywhere, but the reps were not calling them back. The good ones were not calling them back until they got orders. So it was like this. And then the buyers were really looking for new products, but the 3 of them together were not working well together. Does that make sense? So the essence here is we just want you to make sure that you understand that you will get success if you're willing to do a little bit of work at first. You don't have to, something to consider. And the last thing is explore financial support, because there are third parties who will help you pay for chain store orders. So I'll get it into Q&A, but the essence is not everybody has millions of dollars in the banks to go after stores, right? You're worried that if you get a chain store order that, you're going to have to spend all this money and you won't have it in the bank. Most products in stores, the retailers understand that you don't have endless free flow of cash to pay for orders when she decides that she wants to reorder from you. It would be nice, but some of the coolest products she knows are smaller companies. And too bad for her, she had to come to realize that, back in early 2000s, when a buyer she never changed jobs. She stayed at the same job for years. She only bought from massive manufacturers typically. The small guys were never really able to sell to the chain stores because, you know, it was just a very specific way. About 12 years ago, things started to change where the buyers suddenly couldn't have the opportunity just to sell products that came from their friends and so forth. The corporate retailers realized that if they wanted to compete online, they had to come up with new interesting products consistently, and they couldn't do what they used to do before. They would just work with the top manufacturers, and that was that. In the last 12 years or so, when online started pumping more success, the retailers had to get competitive, so they wouldn't allow the buyers to stay at their jobs forever, only buy stuff from their friends or anything like that. So they completely emotionally cut out any relationships with their manufacturers. So, and they were looking for small companies and big companies, whoever can fulfill the need for their audience, because now they're in major competition, which is why I started teaching this stuff so long ago, because I realized that like it is now time for the little guy to succeed. And so the bottom line is that these retailers have things in place, or third-party companies have things in place to be able to pay for your orders. So literally you can contact the company before you start going after stores, do a deal with them, and they don't even care about anymore. They don't really care about your credit score. They care about the retailer's credit score. So for instance, these third-party companies, basically you reach out to them for some financing, and say you got an order from Bed Bath & Beyond, you hand it over to this company. They will literally, they can pay for the purchase order, pay for the whole thing, and then they get paid when the buyer gets paid, and for a couple of percentage points. So these third-party companies actually care that they know Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever will pay them. So they're more lenient on your credit scores and so forth. I mean, if you killed somebody, you know, there are certain things that they're not going to help you with. But generally speaking, funding companies are out there who can pay for the orders, and retailers are very used to dealing with these third-party companies. And so don't worry about that. And we could talk about that a little bit more now, but the essence is that even if you're freaking out about going after chain stores because of the money that you have in the bank, just know that there's funding possibilities. And you don't have to even have like the biggest, best credit. They're really caring about what the retailers are actually, you know, which retailers, because they know they'll probably get paid, and so forth. So again, we can talk about that. Anyways, if you have any questions, please submit them in the question box. I hope this helped you. I have put my information here. You can email me, KarenW@retailmba.com. However, if you guys are interested in conceivably working with me, you can just text me at 1-855-RETAIL-2, and I'll give you some free content in detail. I'll go slower about going after stores, and I will give you a special offer for the people at the Apparel Textile Show. So all you have to do is just say 855-RETAIL-2, text me, and put in your email address in the text. Just say interested, want to deal, want to learn more, whatever it is, and I will reply with some free content and so forth. We're not going to spam you. It'll be a one-time thing, just giving you information. That's it. I won't bug you again. I'm not interested in, and I hate it when people reach out to me annoyingly. So it's just for this event. It's just to get you guys to communicate with me, you know, whatever. And I'll offer you a one-time 24-hour deal that's super epic. And hopefully you guys will want to work with me as a consultant and or coach with our trainings and so forth. So if interested, just do that. Otherwise, I am here to answer your questions. And again, 855-RETAIL-2, and sometimes you have to look at the letters and the numbers. Sorry, it's annoying, but just text us, put in your email address, and we're here for you. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Well, apart from all of the compliments and the woohoos and the yeses and the I'm here's, there are quite a few questions.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and go down the line here. I
And
have an upscale cap.
You know that. Sorry, Jason, but I got overzealous with the data.
What's that?
I know I'm way over. I think I was supposed to be 40 minutes and then Q&A, but I got, you know, I just wanted to help. Sorry about that.
Good information, everybody here. It was really benefiting, it seems, so no problem at all. All right. I have an upscale capsule travel line. I don't have anything that is fast fashion, looking for a niche venue, upscale spas, hotels, 1 or 2 upscale stores. A niche venue. I think she means a niche retailer. That's what she means. Sales platform. Can you answer to that?
What's the question?
That's the question. I think that's the question. It's up here at 146 on the chat function.
Okay, I mean, she just wants to sell to hotels and boutiques. I mean, hotels and other stuff. What would I have to say about that?
I think she's asking.
Okay, so I mean, is the question, what do I do? Like, what's the question?
I think the question is, as far as terms of retail, is like, where should I be selling? I don't think a niche like that would be in the realm of big retailers.
Actually, so
or would you recommend any big retailers to sell that stuff to?
So if you have kind of a niche product, the way to figure it out is to go online and figure out. Yes, you can go after the hotel market. By the way, for hotels and so forth, they have purchasing divisions, so it's very similar. You know what I mean? They do have buyers who buy things for their hotels. It's similar to retail differences. It's not actually a buyer for a specific thing and so forth. But you know what I mean? They're just a purchasing agent, purchasing division for the hotels to purchase things. So similar in that way, right? So that's the same thing as retail. You're trying to get the purchasing person to purchase from you. But if your question is, like in spas, right? So like the bigger, more well-known spas, there's always somebody who's purchasing for you. Each way to sell them is slightly different, but the concepts are the same, right? It's always good to have a pitch down, figured out about how you're going to communicate with the buyer. If I had a really high-end niche product, there'd be so many questions I could ask this person, like, why is it so high-end a niche? Is it just because you haven't found a manufacturer yet? Is it just like, is it really necessary? Is it possible for you to create a secondary product to go after a larger audience? So then you don't have to get on the, reach out to so many different stores individually. But generally speaking, the way that I would figure out who to focus on is I would go online, do a Google search, type in whatever the niche product is, and then see which retailers are selling similar products, what their pricing is compared to what your pricing is. Are there retailers who could conceivably handle it, or online retailers? Because then maybe there are certain niche markets that you can go after without having to like open up accounts, store to store, to be like different things that you have to do. Or for the hotel market, does it make sense for them? I don't know what your product is, but if it's a niche travel thing, I don't know if they're consistently buying that, right? It could be a gift for their, I don't know if that would be the ideal place to go and start, but typically without me able to ask more questions, I just have her do a Google, try and figure out who's selling somewhat similar product with somewhat similar price range. Maybe it's retail, maybe whatever. And that'll give her some ideas of where to start. Wants help.
All right, let's see here. How do manufacturers how do you get in contact with regional buyers at these big chain stores?
It's too complicated of a question. There's so many layers to it. I need to understand your product as a whole. We've kind of talked about so there are corporate buyers, there are regional buyers, you know what I mean, at different chain stores. How you contact them and what you say to them ultimately requires us to look at your business and piece together the right words for you. But they just wanted you to know they exist and it's possible to go out there. I don't have a way to answer that question without that individual person.
All right. I think a few of these have been answered as you were presenting. Some came in the middle of your presentation. So
I mean,
a few here that you did ask. Yeah. I did post her Instagram handle as well as her website right here on the chat function. So if anybody's interested, her website is retailmba.com, and she has all of her social media links at the very bottom of the page, the homepage. So
I have a lot of free videos on YouTube as well. Good content if you guys are interested in that. Answers a lot of specific questions.
Great. And then also just remind everybody, we do have a cocktail hour hangout after this. And I will include the link here. If you just go to the dashboard, go down to the matchmaking area, the button down there, that's our live hangout. So Karen will be there as well to answer any additional questions. Do you have this program available for people in Latin America who want to export to US and Canada?
I work with a ton of international clients who sell to US retail chains or want to. So yes, the program is for the US retail market solely because we focus on the US retail because it's so massive. And in our systems, we always include like an international component. So, you know what I mean? What to do if you're international and how you talk to them slightly differently. You know what I mean? In terms of that. But yes, we have clients all over the globe. Absolutely. But we won't promote that, you know, what we teach will work for that audience, you know what I mean, in that country, because, you know, I only practice what I preach. And so it is for the US retail market. And if they're interested in that, absolutely. Please note that everything that I teach and everything I do, we do ourselves. So, I mean, we test everything that we teach for years and years. Even today, we have a division that reaches out to buyers on people's behalf. And so when we do that, we're literally testing and using our own examples and then updating our systems.
Okay. How do you get in touch with chain store buyers, though? It seems meeting them is very difficult. I have a profile on RangeMe and was told that you need to pay $1,300 to get seen by buyers from Walmart, Target, etc. Is this true?
I teach totally different strategies than that. So RangeMe, if you're talking to RangeMe, like I know RangeMe, I get what happened, you know, what RangeMe is. I have no problems with, they're nice people. But all I know from all these years of selling, that as all the professionals do not submit their product on somebody's website. What they do is they create a story that's very compelling for a chain store buyer. They reach out to the particular buyer specifically who's responsible for their product category. It's a little harder because you got to figure out who your buyer is, and there's certain work around that. And then you speak to them in a, you know what I mean? You reach out to them in a very particular way. And then you get typically a conversion. So if you're asking me, should I spend the $1,300 on RangeMe? I would never do that for my own products or for, you know what I mean? Well, not because I don't appreciate RangeMe, but it's not the way that in any sales situation, I'm going to try and get the buyer who has the ability to buy to interact with me, because I get to control that conversation. I get to control the packaging, like the words to use about the price, whatever it is, I get to show the imagery that I want to show. Because when you're submitting to those sites, it's very cookie cutter. Why they do that is because so many people are reaching out to retailers that the retailers just need a third party to kind of keep it all together. You know what I mean? For them, for the buyers and so forth. I don't know. I believe what I say. So no, so I wouldn't go for it, but that's me. And again, I have so many clients who, you know, do that with Range. They just haven't received success. And I have no problem with RangeMe. I'm just looking for direct hits of cash from my audience. And I would appreciate someone teaching me the strategies that professionals use. That's what I use.
One thing I've learned in just about any industry, and especially this is true in the apparel industry, it's such a fluid industry that hard skills are something that just about anybody can learn, and there's resources for them everywhere, but the soft skills are some of the hardest things to learn. I think that's what Karen's getting at here. So I highly recommend that anybody either reach out to her, find out more about what she does with Retail MBA, and consider hiring her, because ultimately, if you can get that one account, that might make all the difference in your company. So it's worth the money, education, and knowing, you know, the ins and outs and the secret sauce, as she was mentioning before, essentially where you're gonna, you know, you can watch YouTube videos till all live long day, but unless you get that direct coaching, it's gonna be very difficult for you to avoid the pitfalls and find the opportunities. So I highly recommend that you check her out. Last question, we do have to wrap up. Do buyers usually pay you before the product is shipped to the stores or after?
It's a good question. You get a purchase order from a buyer. When you get that purchase order from a buyer, you review it, please, because sometimes they throw stuff in that, you know, could be difficult for you. So some retailers get overzealous and they're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll buy 50,000 units. But if the product doesn't sell, you know what I mean? Then you have to take the product back or something like that. And then you're responsible for that. Most retailers, there's a lot of ways where that doesn't happen. But you know what I mean? You want to review this purchase order. So I'm just walking you through the purchase order concept. So if you see anything that's freaking you out, discuss it with the buyer before you say yes. Okay. I really want to be careful here that people understand that, those horror stories where people say that they lost their shirts or whatever. It's because they got so excited that retailer said yes, they didn't actually look at the fine print. If a buyer's giving you quantities that are very high, but they're asking for all these things, adjust it with them so it's smaller quantities so you can function as a business and not harm yourself. So that's just, I want to say that. When you get an actual order, what will happen is you guys will set a date of when you're going to ship the goods and so forth. When you deliver the goods to them into their warehouse, then it's usually could be 30 days, could be 60 days. And if they're really evil, could be longer, to pay you. Okay, so it's from actual them receiving the goods typically. Now, obviously, deals are done differently. If that freaks you out, it's normal. There are ways to combat that so you can get paid faster. So we teach strategies on how to make sure that you get paid faster so you're not having to wait extensively. Or you reduce the quantities on the purchaser with the buyer so that's not a big, huge thing for you. Or you get funding from a third-party company in advance before you start going after chain stores. And so the stress of you handling that, you know what I mean? Like you'll get paid whatever. But typically, it is once they receive the goods in-house, and then it's 30 to 60 days thereafter. Yes, you are responsible for that.
Great. Okay, I just included the link to the dashboard. If you scroll down one scroll, you'll see the matchmaking area. That's where the virtual hangout is going on. There is a cocktail hour going right now, virtual, of course. So if anybody would like to head in there, and also Karen will be joining to answer any additional questions you might have, as well as some of our other speakers and ATS staff if you have any questions. I do recommend everybody checks out the exhibitor hall while it's still open, and we will be going on to the rest of the Retail Thursday. So Karen, thank you so much. That was very in-depth, very informative. I certainly learned a few things as well. So thank you so much. And I think our Facebook recipient or viewers have also said great things. So thanks again.
Thank you guys.
And we will see everybody in the virtual hangout.
Awesome.
Take care, everybody.